Rightio, viewer, just thought I'd take an opportunity to introduce you to a couple of modifications along the way I've done over the years and explain them a little bit, the pros and cons. As you can see here, I have got an inlet manifold that only goes to 4 cylinders. That's because when I fitted this huge injection pump, that was no longer feasible to use the original because it looks like that. And of course would go there and would definitely hit that. So never fear, cut off one arm of the inlet manifold and just made a custom one. Go ahead and give it a go. If you're in the same position, it's not actually that hard. And believe it or not, all the people that carry on about exhaust gas and inlet gas flow and everything needs to be tuned and stuff like that, it's more about naturally aspirated petrol engines, the way they work. Diesels, especially turbo ones, don't suffer from those same problems. Google it if you don't believe me. It's all good. And with this improvement or modification, I was getting much better results a couple of times that I had it dyno tested. So don't be scared off of the whole dual plane, single plane, inlet manifolds and all that crap and the technology. That's very true, but it's not relatable to this scenario with the old diesel. So I ended up making this puppy just out of some pipes, welded it together, cut off the existing inlet manifold flange shapes, because to take the time to make them from scratch is just, you can do it, but you got a perfect fit right there. So just chop them off the old one, weld them on your new one. You'll notice there I've got that cut out there, so it can slip enough around that stud to get it's for a nut to get a purchase on it. But obviously with that clearance there, you're not going to get something like a full inlet manifold bolt hole around that successfully. So the way that is there now would sit on top, and I can't get it on there at the moment because I've got a bolt head in the way there, but yeah, it would sit on, this pipe would sit on top there. And I thought a little bit about sharing the air, so I just put a little cup on the inside, about a sixth or so of the surface area, just to catch enough air to that if air inertia was playing a bit of a role, it would send some that way instead of creating a venturi and sucking it away from them. But you know, I don't think that would have happened anyway, but couldn't have hurt. And this system has been running quite successfully for years and years. So don't be afraid to modify what you need to, especially if you're going to go something like that. So that injection pump, I used to run a Mazda T4100 injection pump. I didn't do that, it was already on it. After a rebuild, that was a good enough pump, it was all good. But then when I started playing with boost and a bit of fuel ratios, I decided I needed a boost compensator. So I took that into a shop in Cairns and got them to fit the boost compensator. After a fair wait, the boost compensator arrived, and of course it didn't fit that injection pump, so they ended up doing a different housing. Reportedly it's from a patrol. Didn't actually tell me the housing specs, but it does have a number there. I guess I can just use that and find out. But as you've probably seen from a previous video, wasn't entirely happy with everything they did, so haven't had much to do with them since they had one of the guys leave and just become a bit hard to get along with, or at least hard to communicate with, because they got a bit busy and stopped returning calls and just become a pain. But anyway, I'm left with this injection pump. Actually goes really hard with it, and played with the fuel a bit. The boost compensator is adjustable as well, so that has made for some big increases. Like for example, if you're familiar with these motors, in standard form they're pretty sluggish. Turbo form, you're keeping up with traffic quite comfortably, everything's good. With a bit of playing here, granted it was a bit of a wet night, but power sliding out of roundabouts was a bit of an interesting experience in the old Effie after years of driving around, firstly with no turbo, then the turbo. Then with the extra fuel and the EGTs, exhaust gas temps, didn't get out of control or anything, so it was actually quite good. So that's why I thought I blew my head gasket, because I was playing hard. But as we have learnt along the way, more corrosion than boost. But anyway, so that's the injection pump. Also, on my spare engine over in the corner, it does have the original Kiki VE rotary under license from Bosch that comes with it. They couldn't really do much with that either. I did bring that in when I to the injection shop when I brought this injection pump in. They didn't really want to know about it. It's not really what they want to play with. So anyway, that's sitting over there on the other engine. But yeah, that goes quite well. The other thing is the alternator. It did have the old original one on it there, 40 ampere. You probably can't read the sticker on that anymore, but I do have some other still photos when it was new. That's off like a 2006 Rodeo, Isuzu Rodeo, Holland Rodeo, Isuzu engine. 80 amps, and it's a direct bolt up. Absolutely exactly the same. Got the vacuum pump on the back. It was internally regulated, but I bought it secondhand. It had a buggered regulator, so a Sparky mate of mine set up an external regulator for it. Otherwise I wouldn't have had to do anything. I did get the wiring done for that W terminal, I think it's called. Geez, it's been years. That gives you your tacho output as well, because I've got a tacho, diesel tacho in the car. But that was pretty easy for him. That worked out pretty cheap. Like even the offset on the pulley was perfect. So, you know, it's just an easy upgrade and a much better deal. And good oil flow, which is great for the turbo. So moving on to the turbo, it's a Garrett. Had a shop in Cairns, put it on because I didn't really have the time or workshop to do anything with it at that time, and that's worked out really, really good. That's a game changer. That pretty much doubled the horsepower and torque, although I have a funny feeling the original tune of the engine wasn't great anyway, because when I did the timing on the injection pump, it sounded completely different. It ran clean, sounded like a Land Cruiser type, instead of this old sort of popping tractor sound, weird sound. I put it down to just being a little tractor engine type sound, but yeah, it sounds completely different when the timing was right. So I don't think it's probably ever been right for the previous owner. But anyway, once I learned how to do the timing and the settings on the fuel pump when I installed this one after the work, yeah, it actually sounded fantastic. All right, so the turbo, I did see a piece of paper when they were installing it, and it was the 25 series written on it, but I don't know what the deal is, because I went back there a couple of times because there's no spec plate on this turbo, and they just couldn't tell me what size it was. And one of the guys come and had a look and said, by the look of it, it's, you know, it's in the 30s, it's a big turbo. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about turbos. Whatever you say, mate. But I still don't have any specs on it. I know it works, it's great. It completely changed the engine. But yeah, if anybody knows anything about turbos, I might, once I take all these bags off, I might take some photos of everything I can on it and see if one of you more educated people can maybe tell me what I've got, because funnily enough, the shop that installed it can't. Anyway, that's about it for the engine. Yeah, I just welded up the 180-degree bend here. I used to have a bit of muffler pot, and I'll just change every couple of years because it starts rusting out. But yeah, the Stano should work a bit better. But yeah, those little changes along the way have certainly made it that so you can overtake, tow, keep in pace with traffic, if not do better than the traffic, and still maintain about 12.4 kilometres, 12.4 litres to 100 kilometres. So pretty happy with that. And now we got the new clutch. Things are looking good. Righto, it's all bolted up in the inlet manifold. I was just experimenting with this air heater, but I don't think I've got enough bonnet clearance for that puppy. Having a look at some old photos, so unfortunately the old heater's probably not going to be able to go into this system, although I am going to remake all my pipe work from the turbo. I might be able to put it horizontal in line or something, but yes, oh well. Back to the drawing board on the preheat. You never know, might get serious and pull out these bloody bolts or whatever's in there hiding the glow plug holes yet. See how bored I get before it goes back in.